Hi everyone, today we are going to talk about the subject, verb, and object of a sentence, and we're just going to briefly review that concept. After we do that, we are going to define pronouns and talk about what a pronoun is, and following that we are going to differentiate between subject and object pronouns and discuss how to use both of those. Now, as a quick review, the subject of the sentence is the person or thing that does the verb in the sentence. The verb is the action that is in the sentence, and then the object is the person or thing that is acted upon in the sentence. So, for instance, in this sentence, we have she planted the seeds carefully. She is the subject, planted is the verb, the seeds are the object. Now, the reason why she is the subject is because she is the one doing the planting. She is the one doing the verb. The seeds in this case are being acted upon, therefore they are the object. As far as pronouns go, pronouns are just small words that take the place of nouns. So to review, a noun is a word that represents a person, place, thing, or idea in a sentence. A pronoun is a small word that can stand in the place of a noun. And pronouns are really important in English because if we didn't have pronouns, our language would get very, very repetitive as we repeat nouns over and over and over again. It is good to use pronouns so that our language is a little bit smoother. When we use pronouns, we no longer have to repeat someone's name over and over again. We no longer have to repeat to a very specific noun over and over again. We could just use a small word to take its place. Here's an example of that. Our sentence says, Maria was happy when she saw her score. Now, the noun in our sentence is Maria. The pronouns are she and her. Those small words there refer back to Maria. As the reader, I still know who we are talking about when I see the word she, but I no longer have to repeat the word Maria. So rather than saying Maria was happy when Maria saw Maria's scores, now we can see that we use the pronouns she and her in order to stand in Maria's place, therefore making our sentence move a little bit better. In particular, though, one interesting thing that we do in the English language is we change our pronouns based on whether they are in the subject or object position of a sentence, which is why it is so important to be able to differentiate between the subject and object of a sentence, because our pronouns are going to be changing depending on what position they're in. Now, if you are a native English speaker, chances are that you already do this pretty well. There are a few common mistakes that native English speakers make with pronouns, and we'll address those in just a minute. But generally speaking, you can probably recognize these pronouns just right off the bat. If you are learning English as a second language, however, these might be kind of new to you. However, you might also have a head start on some of the native English speakers because you have learned the grammatical rules better than most native English speakers have. And so you might know the actual proper pronouns to use in the subject and object positions, whereas others might not. Now let's take a look at some of those. First off, on the left-hand side, you can see pronouns that should be used in the subject position of a sentence. I, you, he, she, we, they, who. But if we are using those same pronouns, but we're putting them into the object position of the sentence, they need to change a little bit. So I would turn into me. You will stay the same. It will still be you. He would turn into him. She would turn into her. We would turn into us. They would turn into them. And who would turn into whom? Let me show you a few examples of those. First off, the tourist asked my friends and I for directions. Now, our top sentence is, in fact, incorrect because the tourists are the subject of the sentence. Asked is the verb of the sentence, and then my friends and I are the object of the sentence. Now, based on what we just saw, I should only be used in the subject position of a sentence. If it's in the object position of a sentence, it should turn into me. So if we go back to our example, the correct version of this is the tourist asked my friends and me for directions, because again, we're taking that pronoun I and we are switching it into the proper object pronoun, which in this case would be me. Now, if that pronoun I was in the subject position, it could stay I, but we can only use I when it is the subject, when it is the thing that is doing the verb. Again, I is for subject, me is for object. Here's another example though. I do not know who I will take to prom. In this sentence, I is in fact the subject, so that works. We can keep the I there. We wouldn't want to say, me do not know who I will take to prom. That doesn't make sense. As native speakers, most of us can identify that that is an error. But the problem here is the who. Because I is the subject, I am the one who does not know, right? But the who is the object in this sentence because it is the one being acted upon. And when that's the case, who then becomes who. You can see here that the subject version of that pronoun is who. The object version of that pronoun is whom. So if we go back to our sentence, again, the correct version is, I do not know whom I will take to prom. Now, most native English speakers have a hard time with who and whom. Really, the only thing you need to know to be able to differentiate those is when you are in the subject position of the sentence, you are going to use who. When you are in the object position of the sentence, you are going to use whom. Now, again, today we have talked about, first off, the subject, verb, object of a sentence, second off, what a pronoun is, and then third, the most important thing is the difference between subject and object pronouns. Here's that list one more time for you so you can check it out if you have any questions. But you should, at this point, be able to differentiate between what pronouns should be used in the subject and object positions of a sentence. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good one.